In this final video for this unit, I'm going to talk about features on demand. So all of the files that you need in order to install Windows Server, or all the different roles and features for Windows servers, can be found in C, Windows, Win, SXS. Of course, C:, assuming that you have a C drive. But wherever your system drive is, you'll find all the files that you're going to need. The problem is now. First of all, in older versions of Windows Server, if you wanted to install new roles and features, you typically had to put a disk in, and then once you put the disk in, then you can install new roles and features. Um, the difference with 2012 is by default, starting with 2012, all of the files that you'll need for any roles and features are already there in that folder. So anything that you might need, any of the roles or features that we're going to talk about in this course, they'll all be available to you. You don't have to go and find the original disk or an ISO file. The problem with that is that those files are rather large, so it does use up quite a bit of disk space. So that's certainly one problem. Another is patches and updates. If those files exist, then when you get patches and updates, it'll try to update those files that you'll need to add those roles and features, even if you're not using them. Because in the event that you do decide to use them, the Microsoft wants to make sure you have the latest versions of those files for a variety of reasons. So that's another problem. So in 2012, they added features on demand, which addresses this problem. It enables you to remove those files to free up disk space. So you can remove those files if you're not using them. So if there are roles and features that you know you're not going to be using, you can go ahead and remove those from that location on disk, and it'll no longer be used. You could later on remount those files, or you can use a network share to go get those files. And they'll update that way, so you don't have to have them on that server. But by default, they will be there. So another advantage of removing those features is Windows Update's going to run a lot faster because it doesn't have to update all of those files. So if you're only using one or two roles and you don't anticipate using the other roles, it's probably a good idea to go ahead and remove all of the files that you don't need. You cannot remove files for features that you want to remain installed. So if you're already using some features, you can't remove those files. Those files you'll have to keep. So once a server has been configured, you may find that you no longer need the GUI components, for example. So to convert a server to a ServerCore installation, you would run the command that you see here. So to see a list of all of the available roles and features, you can use this command. It's the get Windows feature command. To narrow the display down to only those features that are installed, you would add the EQ argument and show only installed. So where install state is equal to installed. And that might look something like this. So this is a list of all of the features that are available and installed, and then this might be just a list of those features and roles that you have installed. And again, this is using the PowerShell or the command prompt in Windows. So to remove all of the available features and restart the server, you would use this command. So basically, this command is what you're going to run once you've installed the server and you've configured the roles that the server will be using, and you don't anticipate needing any additional roles in the future. You would run this command. It'll remove all of the roles and features files that you will no longer need, so you won't have to worry about updates taking longer or using all that extra disk space. So for example, if you were running ServerCore only as a web server and you run this command, all of those other features in Windows are going to be gone. The GUI files will be gone. All of the roles and features for things that are not IIS will also be gone. So you'll save a tremendous amount of space. And you won't have to worry about those being updated from Windows Update since you simply don't have those components anymore. So it's a good way to kind of reduce the size and the footprint of your installation. All right, so to verify the results, we can run this command again. We can show all of the roles that are removed, so where install state is removed, and it'll just show you all of the roles that it removed that are no longer available for you. So using features on demand, there's a feature file storage and network share containing the files required to install roles, role services, and features. So you can have a server on the network that has all the files that you need. In the event that somebody needs to add a role, they'll be able to do so even if they don't have the files on the local machine. So you'll create a network share and assign read permissions for the group containing all the computer accounts that will access that share. That store, and we're going to talk about how to do that later on in this course, how that works. We'll talk about sharing files and how the file system works in Samba and SMB rather, which we call it in Windows. So we'll talk about that later on, but this is the command that you would run to in order to set up the features on demand on a network share. So in summary, We talked about the process of installing Windows 2012, Windows Server 2012. We talked about using a DVD, which is common for single server installation or an ISO. We talked about the post-installation tasks like setting the IP address and the time zones and so forth, and then installing the server roles that you'll need, which you'll do after the installation. We talked about when adding new servers to an existing network that you have to decide whether the new server is going to be a new domain controller on an existing domain, a read-only, a member server, or standalone and not connected to any domain whatsoever. You could do an in-place upgrade to Windows Server 2012 only if the existing operating system is Server 2008 or 2008 R2. We talked about the upgrade paths, and then we talked about Windows Server Core being the default and recommended installation option. They only recommend not using ServerCore in certain cases, which we talked about. And then Feature on Demand is a new feature that allows you to remove Windows features and roles that you no longer need or do not anticipate needing, as well as being able to use a network file share to load those features and roles. And that's it for this unit. So we've completed this unit, and if you have any questions, please let us know.